Oh, this is regarding all the topics and all the names in the news and interbranch. They've been switching names as collusion at all locations slash S. Forgiveness is to get through how they'll lie about our motivations when we say that because they're preventing the predicate acts recorded. For example, there are collusions with WFSB names and with WTNH names. WTNH fabricated emails with a principal child offender involved with obscure pictures with more then and now. These are also doctors, people with a Leahy family, a whole bunch of men and women who are doctors who attach little kids and their family members to fake conversations with others and with themselves. Also, with prosecutors and judges involved with them. These are also foreign and domestic military names, switching names into branch names. These are also timed collusions with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, originally and still inseparable from American history, how they had collusions forced by the breaching method. Rather than understanding this through our schools, they are blaming what that caused too on other things, others or on themselves. They are blaming it on our founders, slavery. They are saying this is what the evidence says because we have not addressed the evidences with telling no lies. They have self-valued readings of statutes that give the benefit of the doubt to the police forms, like Wethersfield Police retired police chiefs and their families and intimate ties, recorded wire crimes with the same house, rolls at corners of buildings and streets, planting fake exceptions so they can where and how they are used with names in all sides of criminal and of civil cases. At the same time with the news planting evidences at the crime scenes, including preemptively. This is relative to use of all location slash S by the breaching method before our founders were born. American history is simple. For example, it's questions that they pretend are they're simple and they are complex tactical terror from how they describe such. To be able to describe reality and reason, you have to understand how nature tells us to do it. Nature uses what is hot. Nature is what is hot and cold and warm, and further the difference of that at the same time, whether it is only hot, it's too hot, too cold. In other words, we're not using nature's hyper-native system. And part of the way nature shows us that is by showing us the only increasing value of of indigenous populations, still themselves not allowed to use the hyper-native system. If we found these words, it assigned why and how we have black pupils, whites of eyes. Rather than that, in other words, and a breaching method is right there saying other. Even if all truths that, in other words, this breaching method employed people A through Z to blame other things, others, ourselves, even when correct using truths or using truths, because now they're going to hurt each other. What caused slavery? A human fact should be nature breaching method that came from semi-ancient times. But we know it came from before our founders were born. Why? Was others even how could you go into what Jim Crow laws are about without addressing the predicate acts with facts, collusions, or that person was sensed through their own, or that body was sensed through their own, even that body was a majority. No one wanted roles with slavery. And this was sustained against Native Americans, president / chief. Native Americans against Native Americans, presidents against presidents. Our founders had to counter extort the other founders. They were never supposed to bring up amendments. Oh, well, the First Amendment says, you don't even know what the First Amendment is, huh? That's how they debate. That's how they debate. Our founders had to counter extort the other founders. You don't bring up the what amendment is what without that. Boxings. I teach us things. The news lies about our behavior. They're involved with behavior racketeering. little shell games, little tricks. How do you think they got along so long, hurting and persuading kids sickly distinctly from the best schools to the worst ones to blame other things, others, themselves for what we know was true always. One of the things that is true always that caused slavery was about, therefore, was predicate acts with facts, method, /s roles. That is true constantly. Where even if someone wants to say that prejudice was a part of it, prejudice was not constantly what it was. And how and why that was constantly is because there's a breaching method there to discern. And then what it caused was a method and means to invest a whole bunch of other identities of industries and names and families and ages of correlation natures, positive and negative treatments, reliant upon criminal insidiousness natures of variable and constant treatments. Reason uses difference and uses what is variable and constant in ways greater than and more finite than, in ways relative to what is active, in ways that math can't appreciate. But then, well, that's the way math uses it. Psychiatry, for example. So they have sides on sexual differences, and they have the same subject treatments that can't defend that and have afford discerned. Uses of short words and names proper, reason properly. So they've been putting fake things in the databases. And then further, where the sciences are manifest and how they are actually manifest. Boxings. Republic stands abridged. Its campus, all its things. Boxings. Romulus and Remus and pantheism. There are proofs, and it is increasingly more practical to convict, to theorize, let alone to convict, that Romulus and Remus is about the science of Alpha and Omega. That the fact that the alphabet has those two roots and one of them is alpha. See, these words were assigned new names and meanings to keep measured and maintained. See, there are three distinct identities of relationship that both Alpha and Omega have simultaneously, and the extent of the quality diffusion coming with this, which both Alpha and Omega are greater than and more finite than that as their complete identity of volume. Everyone's complete identity of volume is a semi-nature relationship to which keeps this true. The same way all the parts of your body are a semi-nature relationship to your complete identity. The nature of English reveals that the ancients valued the difference / non-difference of our languages revealed together to follow how nature communicates. We have different color eyes where we have the same color eyes. Species, body of individual bodies. Difference. They keep asking, what's a man, what's a woman? I see in YouTube shorts and stuff like that. That's one of the repeated things. And they ask, and we see them at Fox News, MSNBC, CNN. Subject treatments. Natures and quality of debate still has criminal insidiousness. I am not a lawyer. Our founders communicated for us to demonstrate what is actually recorded, where and how this breaching method employed. Names on all sides of criminal and of civil cases. And they're the victims increasingly of bad things, obviously, because you entertain sick things. Nature is going to demonstrate negative value, nature progressions, acts, natures. And don't forget, it knew that. It knew that it caused that, but it caused it through ourselves. It caused this through Native Americans, because it took away their campus. It took away their tie to with the ancients, because before criminally foreign influences, the species body liberated itself together because it was using the system that showed how it caused positive or negative value nature progressions and the difference between positives that are criminally foreign influenced or not. And see, so we'll address this, but we have to have mandated law followed. My name is Anthony Wall. I was in the World Trade Center attack right before it, and right next to the World Trade Center, and the night before it, and and right before the attack, I was in the Ninth Circuit Court right next to the World Trade Center towers, which I noticed people there had been involved with predicate acts on campuses I went to. Oh, why wouldn't you say something? It's recorded. There's also connections between every campus I went to with the intelligence community, with other people. Then if you bring up their names or the intelligence, these are role switching and forging names with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and a whole bunch of other nations individually grouped in together, used remotely, pretending they could speak for the reason, law, honesty. See, George Washington, we were told to speak about his extortion. We were communicated to communicate about his extortion. Honestly, telling no lies, not leaving out the torture methods, which are fact-cheating nature oriented, not leaving out the fact-cheating nature slavery on every person, sickly, distinctly, on every body, even grouped. See, the suits and ties and the counters to them and the exceptions are still recorded self-valued uses of fake differences, where there are uses of the names of the identities of the sciences, where there are uses of the words like value, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. Forgiveness is to let them not lie about our motivations and change what we say and totally fake it. WFSB faked conversations with me, with them, while forcing a principal child abuser I caught them involved with, and with foreign and domestic military at the same time. A police chief Cintron's personal and extended families, and as one of the retired police chiefs, involved also with 1 years ago, or more years, 1 or more years ago, involved with the same house and a whole bunch of other ones tied to them. And this name, Cololo. They're trying to make problems between us, and where they're true, they're starting it and not letting counters. Like a Phil Cololo is one of the ones increasingly involved on my street, where has timed collusions with the principal child abusers campus. I never saw him on that campus in my life. I never saw him inside of a Wethersfield campus in my life. I only saw him from a distance on a Wethersfield campus in the past, and there are proofs that someone took a picture of that, because that was, I recorded them roles with before that predicate acts, and they forced principals and leaders of the kids to roles with this by abuses of their kids involved too. So a police chief Cintron and a whole bunch of people with a Leahy family, those are medical families, and people with the name Lombardo, they have roles with the military intercities, like with the name Cololo too, and with people with the name Chandler, a Daryl Chandler, and there are women and their family members. They're involved also with a Robert Rodriguez, who's involved with untimely deaths with them. And people on Trinity College were involved with untimely deaths with them, with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants and neighbors of theirs. are also involved with the extended family members, with this name Kalola, with this whiting forensics, with the principal child abuser. And through time, people, when I was a kid, they were involved also timed roles with overt criminal enterprises and with the witness protection program. There are also people with the uses of corners of streets near me with that. And a former mayor Gold and O'Brien family are involved with people on and off Trinity College and CCSU, planting evidences also with names on and off parks and side entrances to parks, roles with the FBI and other agencies and military, as roles with foreign and domestic families, with intercultural and with intracultural. So there are people with the names Demora, Calola, and Lombarda who are and a whole bunch of people tied to them like CM Faglione. These are Italian kids who are little rat mobs who want to be called rats because they were used to pretend you in fake locations, fake ties to themselves, fake natures of ties to themselves. All exceptions were used criminally for an influence too. In other words, these are people we don't even know, like a Joshua Julian too. I never had anything to do with Joshua Julian. His name was repeated to me per their roles with wire crime action methods. That with the net is one of the things that connects people also involved with corners of buildings and corners of streets, with overt criminal enterprises and private ones who have time collusions also further with the names on off campuses. So the police forms and the intelligence roles with each age and nature of campus has been sick. And they've been getting away with it because of the roles with the interbranch family members and the foreign at the same time. And their methods of readings of statutes, criminally foreign influence, uses of the right to lie, criminally foreign influence. So these are also national/international news sources, collusion, self-body roles. So prosecutors with Connecticut courts, named like associated with the Brian Silver, is also one of the ones in the Britain Superior Court and Connecticut District Court, involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and with co-defendants of his, a Thaddeus Grabowski, a Dominic Lepriato, neighbors of a Dominic Lepriato, ones with the name Eric Jensen associated with him, and Dearborn Street, and street near there with the name Spada is also brought up by the Color name, involved with the people who went to the police department and planted fake things with them, who also have with different police departments wire crime action methods and little tricks where they take pictures and pretend people know each other, and they plant fake motivations because they've been criminally foreign influence. There's also a Shumack, a Joshua Shumack, and his mother. I don't know his mother's name. They took a picture, make it look like they know me, and with people intercities involved with KKK themed, black themed evidence is planting with military, foreign, and domestic as people timed roles with overt criminal enterprises and private ones and child offenders, criminally foreign influence uses of religious locations, also online with interbranch Facebook pages. New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page, Hartford, as role collusions with Hartford Court's people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They affected confessions to me at West Hartford locations and the Britain locations because there are also the people involved with the depositions of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and various natures of federal criminal co-defendants of his and their family members and neighbors, such as the Dominic Libriato. There's another people with the name Dominic who switches names with them, have roles with unions and things like that, unions corruption and stuff. Through the people who pretend to be for the unions, pilfering their money. And this is with the military. I don't know see how they have the military with the veterans buildings that look like those buildings in New York City. If you are from the suburbs and you know what American history was about before our founders were born, it was sick. They weren't free. And everyone was and still is forced to pretend they were free. because no one's paying attention to what you are valuing when you value the logic of others. So you need to get onto paper. So Central Connecticut State University has intelligence community, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed offenders of the kids, involved also with the departments of children and family, and judges personally and professionally involved with prosecutors, with people like a Gary Sasso, and with people neighbors of and as a Gill family. Also, where they work at a hot dog place near there. These are people involved with Mayflower movers, interstates. As people criminally foreign influence, they have a family that work with the intelligence community training, state police and other police forms, and military police forms and families, foreign and domestic, on off Central Connecticut State University in the Britain. Those families have been all the ones with medical families, foreign and domestic, attaching kids to fake conversations with themselves in campuses by little tricks, by having people bring up things that were off campus to the with the intelligence community of the campuses. For example, little tricks, fake things, lie about what happened, lie about what came first, the value of that. They have sequence shifts planting roles in the Ninth Circuit Court as roles with more predicate acts right before the World Trade Center, leading up to it and since, as the names roles with WFSB, planting predicate acts roles at crime scenes, including with child offenders, leaders of the kids still, and further interreligious spots. So the intelligence community associated with the areas that have been coaching the people to hide things and make things up for themselves and for others. And where I gave them, gave them a truth to lie with, because I forced people to call the police without telling why. I told them that's what I was doing verbally, because these people are involved with poisons and guns and predicate acts with facts, methods, and roles like wire crime methods, mail crime methods. Connecticut Interbranch has been switching and forging names with and as uses consciously of the naivete, for example, of the online judges, of the news judges, retired and standing judges associated with Fox News. They've been using wire crime methods and mail crime methods, and interbranch preventing writing and criminally foreign influence attaching confessions and such to the exceptions criminally foreign influence too. If you can respond to that, you have to, in other words, you have to speak bad about other people. No, I spoke about the acts, about the bad about themselves that they communicated. That's why it's important to get this on paper, because there were also foreign bodies names here. There are foreign bodies names overtly / insidiously a whole bunch of ways, inseparable from the people pretending they could speak for the law. Since founding, certain type of victim / hyper victim used remotely knew that they would pretend to speak for the law with integrity. So follow mandated law for your government. Romulus and Remus is science. Here, abridged. Follow mandated law. Fix the news. WFSB. Get on paper. Fix it up here. I'm reporting to WFSB right here. More child abuses I caught people next to their building and were involved with too. Make sure they respond here. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with technology. Not their readings of statutes, criminally foreign influence. These are also roles with the lawyers of the FBI and of the Wethersfield police chief involved with predicate acts, methods at locations, fake motivations, planting. Not a legitimate lawyer. Get down! Make sure they get on paper. Down onto paper now and down out of the thing. Make sure. If they can't do that, but make sure they follow mandated law.